Good morning. It is 8:30 in the morning and I am about to be making a chocolate cake and vanilla cake into a big sheet cake for a reunion that my family is having tomorrow, and I'll be making some cupcakes to go along with it. I am by no means a professional baker or cake decorator, but let's go see what we can create.
These are the ingredients for my chocolate cake recipe. This is by far the easiest chocolate cake recipe that I have. My kids really wanted to help out making this cake. There were lots of hands, and we almost had a massive disaster with my son getting hit in the head. It was very close. Thankfully, nobody got hurt, and we were able to continue the baking. Alright, we start with all of our dry ingredients: the flour, the sugar, the cocoa powder, baking soda, baking powder, and the salt. Mix all of that up. Add our eggs, milk with a little spilled milk, of course, the oil and the vanilla, and then follow up with some boiling water. Mix that, and it's ready to go into your baking pans to bake. After making the first cake with the boys, I thought maybe I needed to make a second chocolate cake, just so that way I would have enough for the cupcakes, and if I needed to add any additional parts of the cake to the sheet cake that I was going to make for the reunion. I went ahead and pre-lined my baking pan with parchment paper, used the cup measure to pour in for the batter for the cupcakes, put it in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes at 350.
Okay, so I got the chocolate cakes made. Now we're going to be doing our two vanilla cakes. I've got all of the ingredients already measured out to start the vanilla cake twice. Okay, so for the vanilla cake, I have tried probably 4 to 5 vanilla cake recipes. I have finally found one that I like, and it actually calls for actual vanilla beans. I haven't really messed too much with vanilla beans before, but I like the way that the vanilla bean gives the flavor, the strong vanilla flavor for the cake. So for this vanilla cake recipe, they want to infuse the sugar with the vanilla beans. So you're going to slice the vanilla pod. And I'm doubling this cake recipe. So you'll see everything that I do is going to be 2 times 2. I kind of just will open up the front of it, peel back the layers that I just sliced with a knife. Get a spoon in there and just slice it down. And then you wind up with your vanilla beans. From there, you're going to put them into your sugar and just smush the vanilla beans up along the edge of your sugar and try to get all the clumps out and mix it all in. Okay, and then your sugar is going to be speckled with the vanilla beans. And if you see any big clumps, just take it to the side of the bowl and smush them up. So I've come across a few recipes that have called for vanilla sugar. So what you'll do is you'll actually keep your pods that you've used, that you've already emptied out, and you'll stick these in. I just use a small baggie, and I put some sugar in there, and I add these to it. Mix it around, get all the sugar, get all the leftover little vanilla beans that you did actually leave in here, and I can use that for making banana bread, or I can use it for pancakes. Anything that gives it a little bit of an extra vanilla hint or vanilla flavor kind of gives it a little bit of extra taste, and he uses these up instead of just throwing them away. Okay, so here we have our sugar that we have infused with the vanilla beans. We're just going to set that aside and get everything else mixed up. So like I said, I'm doubling this cake recipe. So you'll start with your cake flour. Baking soda, salt, and baking powder. You're going to get that all mixed together, and then you're going to add your vanilla bean sugar. Let it combine all together. You'll add your unsalted butter. And you're going to finish. It's going to almost look like almost like a sandy crumb. Here is the finished product after you've got the butter all mixed in. All right, so I got my little helper here, Jameson. He's going to help me mix in the rest of the ingredients. We have our eggs,
Dump it in.
our oil.
Oil.
Because we're doubling the recipe, we're going to do some more eggs.
Right. Yeah.
More oil.
More oil.
Here's 1 tablespoon of vanilla.
Nope.
That's a lot of vanilla.
Yep.
And we got another tablespoon of vanilla. All right. And we have our sour cream.
We dump it in. Scoop it in. Scoop it. Scoop it.
Scoop it up. All right.
I have my another one.
And another sour cream.
A big guy. It's wet.
Okay. And we're going to whisk all that together.
Yummy. Will it be yummy?
I hope so, after it all bakes together.
Smells good.
Okay. So here's our mixture right here.
Now,
We need to bring our bowl back forward.
I want to dump the milk.
First, we're going to mix. We're going to pour our egg mixture into the batter.
I don't need this.
Okay. Pour it in for me.
Yep.
Go nice and slow. Keep pouring. Okay.
There.
Drop it down.
Whoa. I dropped the rose.
Good. All right,
Now-
lock it.
It's heavy. There.
Go slow. 1.
I did one.
There we go.
There.
All right. Now as that's mixing, we're going to slowly pour our milk in.
We're making a vanilla, guys.
A vanilla what?
Cake.
Vanilla cake.
Can we? I want me to do this one.
All right.
Add some more.
That's okay. Pour it in. The cake will look a little liquidy, and that is perfectly normal. Okay, so here's our cake batter. Perfectly fine if it's still a little liquidy. We're just going to give that a couple good mixes, and then we'll pour it into our pan. Doesn't that look perfect? Once my vanilla cake got done baking, I went ahead and went to my chocolate cake, put it onto my cake board for the sheet cake. But as you can see, as it was baking, my parchment paper kind of went into the cake. I wasn't too worried about it. I'll be cutting off the edges anyways, but it was kind of a bummer. What I did with the scraps was I ended up later on, I turned those into cake balls, which I'll be making a video later on of what I do with my leftover cake and how I easily turn it into cake balls, which my kids absolutely love. I stick them in the freezer, so we have them pretty much all the time now. There's my vanilla cake. This is one of my very first times making a cake this big, so I was a little nervous. I've never made this much cake all at one time before, and I've never decorated a cake this big either. So I just went ahead, tried to match up the edges as best I could to try to get it the exact same size. Then I realized that I needed to pull them apart just so that way I could cut them down the middle to get a layer of icing in between.
messed up a little bit, cut up a little bit too much, but you know what? No one's gonna know. Covered it up, well, I guess you're gonna know if you've watched this video and had some of this cake, you'll know I messed up, but nobody else is gonna know. If anyone watches this video and knows of an easier way to try to get even layers, please drop me a comment. I'd love to practice and try things out that may work a little bit better. I'd kind of just eyeball it, which has worked so far. So other than that, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But if anybody has an easier way, please let me know. So doing all this icing for the cake, that was my first batch of icing. As I did my middle layer for the cakes, and as I'm doing the top, I realized I'm going to run out of icing. So I did have to make a second batch of icing. And then I realized that after my second batch of icing, that still wasn't going to be enough. So then I had to make a third batch of icing. I used my metal mesh strainer to get out any lumps of powdered sugar to make the icing as smooth as possible. Beat it and mixed in some salt and some vanilla extract. My little one came over. He wanted to take a picture. So, of course, we had to stop and say cheese. What are you saying?
Cheese.
Okay, come here. Say cheese.
Cheese.
So it wasn't after I got done videoing this recipe and going back to watch all these videos that I realized that my little one was very sneaky, watching me, making sure that I wasn't watching him try to lick icing out of the bowl. Even went as far as showing me his clean finger. Then as I walked away, he proceeded to lick the icing off. Then tells me he's about to lick the icing off, but he had already done so. By this time, I'm kind of stressing out. Like I said, I had started baking at 8 o'clock that morning to get the cake ready for Saturday. This was Friday. As I'm icing the cake and realize that I'm having to make triple batches of icing because I'm running out, I try to get the cake cleaned up as possible so I can get it in the fridge to get that first layer of icing hardened. And then I would be able to apply the final layer of icing tomorrow, which would be Saturday morning, and then hopefully get it decorated in time. So here's the cake Saturday morning after it sat in the fridge all night. You can see the icing had cracked right in the middle whenever I went to pull it out because the cake was so heavy and I didn't have anything strong enough underneath to support it. I did later on put a piece of wood down to make it stronger so we wouldn't have that happen after I decorated it. I tried so hard to get the cake smooth and as flat as possible. I don't know if it's the icing that I'm using. It is like a mix of cream cheese, buttercream icing, but it took me forever just to try to get it smooth and flat and get all the edges and get all any type of divots out of the cake. But after what felt like 20 minutes of plastering icing onto the cake and spreading it and respreading it, I think we finally achieved a satisfactory smoothness to the cake. So once I got it smooth enough, I used a toothpick to start drawing my design on the cake. Like I said, it's a reunion cake, so I decided to go with a tree. And I cannot remember where I saw this video, but they used a vinyl cutter to put names or letters onto the cake. And this was my first time trying it out. Needless to say, I absolutely loved the way that it turned out. I was so excited, and because my freehand for drawing on or writing names on a cake, anything saying happy birthday, my handwriting is absolutely terrible. My hands shake, it's just not smooth, and it never works out that well. But using this vinyl, and it's nothing to it, you just print out your vinyl and stick it onto the cake. It doesn't, you do want to make sure that the cake is very cold. I did learn that. I did have to put the cake back into the refrigerator a couple times just to make sure my white icing was extremely cold. And whenever I went to go pull up the vinyl, that the white was still staying smooth underneath it and it wasn't starting to try to come up with the vinyl. Here's my weeding process for the last part of the words. and it just says our roots run deep, and I'll be putting that towards the bottom of the cake. While I was doing this part, the cake was in the refrigerator trying to get cold again, and you can see I'm trying to smooth out the little parts of the vinyl that had messed up because, well, I didn't know. So it was super simple. Like I said, you just pulled it off and stuck it on. Just had to make sure that it didn't get into my 2025. And then the only bummer part was that anything like an O where it has a middle or that D, I did have to hand put those in there, which some of the parts were really small. But other than that, it was a process that I will probably continue to use throughout my cakes and birthday cakes in the future. Smoothed it out one more time, and then once I pulled up the vinyl, then I had to go back through and get all those little bitty dots that were part of the E's and part of the O's and the D, which took a little time. Just trying to, I used my weeding tools that I use for the vinyl, and it worked really well using those. Come to think of it, I might just have to buy a set of vinyl tools just for making cakes. I'm not very good at doing the piping. I started the top and then I realized I'm not really sure if I like that too much. So I ended up actually scraping that off. I kept the same design on the bottom, but ended up scraping off that top because I just didn't like the way that it looked. I ended up just doing some squiggly lines along the top and along the bottoms, and you know what? It worked. And my phone ended up dying, so I didn't get video to me doing the tree, but I just used some brown icing and made me a tree with a bunch of lines. And here I am at my parents' trying to finish it up for the reunion because I've already been running late. And I'm adding all of my little leaves to the cake. Here is the final product of the cake. I absolutely loved it. It turned out wonderful, and I can't wait to make another one this size. It was so much fun to make. Let me know what y'all think. All right, and if you like this video, I'll be making more. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.